Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 21st of December, 2025. Happy winter solstice and good tidings to you all. Bit of a sad episode today. Yes, a day of darkness. That's right. On this episode of the Crusty podcast, episode 390, the Bondi Beach aftermath, plots foiled in Toronto, and of course, the infamous floor crossings that's affected our government in the past week. Listener view discretion will be advised because I will swear, smoke cigarettes, and make fun of the powers that be as usual. Anyhow, stick around. See you in a bit.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 390 of the Crusty Canuck podcast, Day of Darkness. That's right. It's been a week since the unaliving of 16 people in the beautiful Bondi Beach in Australia. My apologies to my Australian listeners. I know it's pronounced as Bondi. But it doesn't look really good in the free world as far as I'm concerned, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a real poop show coming our way. And just a reminder, too, if you like and hear what you see, click like, subscribe, share this podcast all over your social media platforms, ladies and gentlemen. Do not be shy. You can find me everywhere on the little screen there where podcasts are found. Just do what you can. Help me out in these trying times anyway. 'Tis the Christmas season, so it's time for giving. Just a reminder, too, if you like and hear what you see, click like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Don't be shy, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know you're out there. Give me some comments and stuff, too. I don't care how famous you are. I don't care how unfamous you are. Give me a comment. Give me a thumbs up, all that good stuff. And we're carrying on without screwing the pooch there, too. So last week, 16 people were unalived in a shooting, in a pew-pewing. I don't give a crap what the censors say, by two individuals that were vetted by the authorities in Australia, and they refused to say it's been Islamic-based. Now, there's some reports out there. I've got a couple of stories I will put in my description for you to follow. You can see the similarities, ladies and gentlemen. You can see the similarities when it comes to certain attacks that have been going around the world. Ever since October 7th, ever since wokeism, ever since new immigration policies, especially when it comes to Australia, Canada, and the UK. Now, I am not going to sit here and say immigration is terrible. It's a nasty thing. No, I'm not going to be labeled as some kind of supremacist because some SJW might catch wind of this and have a healthy fit. But I'm going to speak out from someone who has worked in that part of the world, someone who has worked in a country where religion is key above everything else. And extremism is key above everything else, too. Now, from what I've seen personally of the footage and the people taking the pew-pews out and doing their nasty things, they knew what they were doing. It wasn't just one day they decided to get up and go start taking pot shots. And apparently, according to the authorities, in their vehicle, they had the means to set off some boom booms. So to cause some real damage. Now, I personally don't care what your background is. I don't care what your faith is. I don't care what you believe in. But if your faith tells you you have to go harm somebody because of their faith or because of their identity, there's a problem with your faith. There's a problem with all faiths. I'm not going to sit here and preach any kind of gospel or tell you what to believe in, whether you pray on a Sunday, whether you pray on a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Friday or a Saturday. I really don't care. You want to throw garbage at people because they preach to a higher power differently than you, then you're the problem. Okay? And we have a government in this country that doesn't really care about that. Because when you look at the likes of Bill C-9, they want to persecute passages in the Bible. Now, I've read some interesting passages in the Quran. Wow. Oh, can you say contrast over? Hello. But I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm not going to dwell in what people want to believe in. I'm not going to dwell in what people preach. My logic is simple. You do you, I do me. Just don't hit me or take my stuff, and I won't hit you and take your stuff. Keep it simple. Keep it logical. Keep it liberty-oriented. But no, we can't have those nice things, right? Because we have government officials here in Canada and, of course, in Australia, which I'm really disappointed in the Australian government too. And I'm sure my Australian listeners can probably back this up. It's just a real shit show. Back in 1996, there was something called the Port Arthur Massacre, where one individual took it upon himself to unalive 36 people. And I actually do remember some news footage of that back in the 90s. And it was devastating, right? So Australia changed their whole gun law issue, similar to what we have here in Canada. And now Mr. Albanese, I think his name is, the Australian Prime Minister, first thing he talks about is the whole, we got to restrict and make gun laws tougher. Similar to what our government did back in 2020 when that ass clown in Nova Scotia unalived 21 people with illegal firearms. And the first thing to do is you start banning all these pew-pews, right? Because that's the way of keeping people safe. Not looking at who is on the police radar, not knowing, who might be committing a crime or will commit a crime. Just abolish it all. The whole logic where Billy swears in class and he really annoyed the teacher, so therefore the whole class has to be punished because of Billy's little bullshit, right? That's the logic we're facing today. That's the logic of these elected officials. Someone makes a mistake, other people got to pay for it. They used to treat like that in the military when you were training as a recruit. Someone's not ready for morning parade, someone's not ready for morning inspection, then the section fails or the platoon fails and they get shit. Okay. But you don't treat average people like that. You don't treat taxpayers. You don't treat Jewish people like that, Christians like that, Muslims like that. You don't treat anybody like that. Okay. But of course, the government likes always an easy fix, likes to tote the virtue and like to say it's a far right conspiracy. No, when a father and son take it upon themselves to take bang sticks out and intentionally harm people for the sake of some ideology, it's not necessarily far right or far left. It's just bloody extremism. It's what it is. Can we please have government officials in our Western democracies having a pair of cojones, balls, and actually say it what it is? Huh? But no, I guess we can't have that now because the narrative might be twisted. Or somebody sitting in some high ivory tower someplace, whether it be Melbourne or Canberra or Ottawa or Montreal or London or Birmingham, dictating this shit, right? Well, what do we know, right? It's ridiculous because I feel bad for my friends in Australia. I feel bad for anybody who has to witness that en masse, who has to be part of that or who's involved in that as a victim. If it was up to me, those two individuals would have been beaten and interrogated properly. Kind of like how ISIS and Hamas and Hezbollah and Al-Qaeda and the Taliban like to treat their PWs. You beat the information out of them. What inspired you? Who are you working for? All that kind of stuff. Fight fire with fire, right? Of course, you might get some people saying, Crusty, violence never begets violence. Look at a history book. Anyway, later in the show, too, I'm going to have some Christopher Hitchens quotes, too. If you don't know who Christopher Hitchens was, he was quite the essayist, writer, critic of Islam, critic of a lot of religions, critic of a lot of things, rest his soul. And I'm going to read some quotes I have from him a bit later. But just a reminder, too, ladies and gentlemen, if you like and hear what you see, click like, subscribe, share this content all over your social media platforms. If you feel like donating, please look at my links in the description and donate at leisure. Right back after this.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And you're back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 390 of the Crusty Canuck podcast, A Day of Darkness. That's right. It's been a week since the unfortunate and terrible events at Bondi Beach in Australia. Just a reminder, too, if you like and hear or see, click like, subscribe, share this content all over your social media platforms, ladies and gentlemen. Do not be shy. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a comment. Tell me what's on your mind. Tell me, actually, too, the more you comment, please tell me where you're writing from, too. I'm just trying to expand my reach here, and I'm getting more and more viewers and more downloads and more subscribers because you people are awesome. I'll say that too. 'Tis the season to be forgiving and liking all that stuff. But just tell me where you're writing from or where you're watching from, ladies and gentlemen, especially my Podbean listeners too. Give me a comment there on Podbean if you can. Don't be shy there, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care where you're from. Let me know where you're listening from and give me some good points or bad points, whatever. Just be honest, right? So the aftermath is pretty simple. There's a lot of excuses coming from the political side. They're always blaming the far right of everything because that's the new narrative in the Western world when it really isn't far right. It's just a bunch of shitheads doing shitty things, period. It doesn't matter if you sit in the political fence, and you're not going to help anybody by screwing more laws and adding more laws, adding more restrictions. You're just going to fuel the fire, right? Anyway, moving on to now, recently there has been 3 individuals in the Greater Toronto area who have been apprehended and arrested for a so-called plot. And I will play something here from the CBC of all places. Go figure, eh? Who knew the CBC actually would do a story on something like that? Because, diversity is the strength, right? Yeah, but I had something queued up here from Global, another one of the 3 main outlets in this country that get some government money. However, I will play this for you wonderful people. And as always, you decide on how this is going to go over, right? I just find it really, really odd that there are so many people out there that make excuses for this shitty behavior. You know what I mean? There's just so many people that make these excuses up. Right. So I will play this for you. And like I say, ladies and gentlemen, you guys decide.
Charges against the men is staggering. Conspiracy to commit kidnapping, hostage taking, sexual assault, 79 charges in total.
The investigation identified alleged offenses that were motivated in part by hate-motivated extremism with potential links to terrorism.
Police allege the men were targeting women and the Jewish community. According to investigators, in May, 3 men armed with a knife and gun attempted to kidnap a woman in Toronto, but fled when a passing motorist stopped. Weeks later, a second violent incident reported just outside Toronto. 3 armed men chased 2 women, but fled when a passerby intervened. Peel police say they then connected the 2 incidents. With help from Toronto police, they identified the suspects and search warrants were executed, leading the RCMP to lay terrorism charges against Waleed Khan. In a recorded statement, here's what police say they found in Khan's home.
Search warrants at the suspects' homes found firearms, ammunition, high-capacity magazines, and other critical evidence which expanded the scope of the investigation.
A court-imposed publication ban is now in effect. Police allege Khan directly or indirectly provided property to fund ISIS and is suspected of providing social media accounts used by ISIS.
In the online world of today, the concepts of small cells and non-state actors working alone but anchored to an ideology are very difficult to manage.
I wish I could say that I'm shocked. Obviously, when hate and radicalization goes unchecked and unprotected, this is what happens.
In the wake of the attack on Hanukkah celebrations in Australia, Jewish groups in Canada are alarmed.
The same extremism that fueled mass murder on the beach in Sydney is present here in the GTA and in Canada. And it's time for Canadians and Canadian leaders in particular to wake up before it's too late.
With hate crimes rising in Canada, those fears are palpable. 26-year-old Waleed Khan, who is facing terrorism charges, will be appearing in a Toronto court at the end of next month.
Now, with allegations of ISIS involvement here, Christine, how is the federal government responding?
Canada's public safety minister says he's ramping up efforts to combat anti-Semitism and hate crimes. He points to over $270 million going towards an anti-hate action plan, enhanced security programs, community engagement, and all law enforcement officials we heard from today say Canadians should report suspicious activity in order to protect public safety.
Thanks for this. Christine Birak in Toronto.
Okay. 27 million or 270 million going to hate crime action plans. Ooh, action plans. Oh, wow. That's a lot of money to action plans. Here's an idea. How about you vet and screen people properly? Doesn't matter if they're born in Canada or not. Doesn't matter. Okay. You heard the report. They found pew-pews in his place. High-capacity magazines. So there was a hell of a lot of intent there. Okay. And you note how they didn't say Islamism, right? Note how they didn't say anything about the religion, just the extremities, the extremists. Okay. Now, who remembers a little thing that happened there in Oklahoma in 1995? An individual by the name of Timothy McVeigh. And they had a big discussion on Christian extremism, Christian fundamentalism, right? Now, does that mean all Christians should have paid for what Timothy McVeigh did? No. Does that mean every Muslim in this country should pay for what happened in Australia? Or because of those three ass clowns that I showed you before? No. But you have to start calling it what it is, okay? Now, I had a little tiff with a communist on TikTok, of all places. Sweet irony out of that, eh? TikTok comes from China, and there's a communist on it. Ooh, no, who knew? Anyhow, this was a gift from my wife a few years back. Quotable Hitchens from Christopher Hitchens. You know, all these commies like to tell me, read a book. Well, here's a book you guys can read. You might learn something about other people's points of view. Now, here's what Mr. Hitchens said about Islam. Okay? Now, pay attention as I read this to you. Curl up now, children. Have a seat, okay? Islam is at once the most and the least interesting of the world's monotheisms. It builds upon its primitive Jewish and Christian predecessors, selecting a chunk here and a shard there, and thus, if these fall, it partly falls also. Right? This is from his book, or actually, I think an article he wrote back in 2007. God is Not Great, New York 12, 2007, 1, 2, 3. Anyhow, that's one quote from him too. Only in Islam has there been no reformation, and to this day, any vernacular version of the Quran must still be printed with an Arabic parallel text. This ought to arouse suspicion, even in the slowest mind. So something to think about. Now, to my viewers out there who happen to be from the Muslim faith, this isn't an attack on you. This is an attack on the extremists. Okay? This is an attack on religious extremism. When people sit and preach about being kind and being peaceful and being humane, when you harvest a bucket of apples, you got to get rid of the bad ones. Okay? When you harvest grain, you have to get rid of the bad grain. When you harvest anything, you have to get rid of the bad bits in order for things to thrive. Now, I'm not saying go out and hurt people. I don't want that, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want anyone to go and hurt anyone. I don't want anyone to be beaten up because of a political point of view. We've seen enough of that with the left of the spectrum. I don't want anyone to be hurt because they preach to a God or preach to a Jesus or a Muhammad or a Moses or a couple of lemons or a rock on the fucking beach. Okay? I want people to get along as best as they can. But we're not seeing that now because we're seeing an actual division promoted by and enhanced by the powers that be we look to. Our security minister wants to have hate programs. You're not going to win by creating effing programs. You're going to have to get out there, really roll your sleeves up, okay? Get off this politically correct kick and do something hard. Do the hard work. Find the hard truth. Swallow the hard truth and fucking do something about it. Especially this time of year. It's getting hard for Canadians to get along. Now, I know it's all over the world. The cost of living is up in this country and that country, but especially here in the land of the maple leaf, that flag behind me that I will stand by, which I swore an oath to, a solemn affirmation to, that we as Canadians should have better lives because we all work. My wife does 35, 40 hours a week. I do about 50 plus hours every shift. Okay? I do a 10-day cycle. I get 4 days off. During those 10 days, I do about 50 plus hours. Okay? You know, 50 hours for 5 days, 50 hours for another 5 days, and then I get my 4 days off. So it's about 100 hours I pull in on 10 days of work. And it's struggling hard because the government has taken part of my money because of their tax mishaps and because of the national debt. And they're taking yours and his and hers, but they want to spend $270 on hate programs, anti-hate programs. We're saving you. What a bunch of crap. Right? That's the biggest load of bullshit I have heard since the budget will balance itself. Right? We've all heard those lingos. And yet there's still more people worrying about who Justin's dating and what Carney's doing against the big bad orange man. Canada, we got to focus more on Canada. Okay? Who cares what Doug Ford says? Who cares what Blarney Carney says? Who cares what Gary says, Mr. Safety Minister, or whatever, ding, ding. He's full of shit. They're all full of shit, and they're not looking out for our interests, ladies and gentlemen. Now the media has covered what happened in Bondi Beach. I just presented to you what's happening in Toronto with 3 individuals. You know, you say it's extremism. Well, let's start telling it what it is. Right? It's just a shit show. But it looks like we're going to have to bring the shovels and clean it up.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And you're back, ladies and gentlemen, episode 390 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. That's right. The Bondi Beach aftermath, plots foiled, and of course, floor crossings. And just a reminder too, ladies and gentlemen, if you like and hear what you see, click like, subscribe, share this podcast all over your social media platforms. Do not be shy. And if you feel like donating, please consider donating too. Links will be in the description for you to donate at your leisure. $3 or $5 or $10. That's fine. I don't mind. I'm not going to sit and demand coin, but the more, the merrier. Anyway, as I said too, about floor crossings. Now, Michael Ha, it's been in our news, or Michael Ma, sorry. Michael Ma. Oh, don't go outside. Basically from the Markham Unionville riding, voted in as a conservative, crossed the floor about 2 weeks back after the Liberal Christmas party, or after the Conservative Christmas party, and basically trying to bullshit us all when it comes to the policies. Now, him and Chris Detremont, the guy from Nova Scotia, who had a hissy fit because I guess he wasn't going to become a deputy speaker of some sort, anyway, had a tantrum. And now the speculation is Carney going to get his majority government based on floor crossing, which I think is pretty shitty to obtain any kind of majority by trying to bribe or woo the other side in the name of wokeism and the green agendas. Now, my best guess with the whole Michael Ma issue is the fact that he was offered a sweet deal, or he was bribed by some other influence. Now, we all know that Mr. Carney is still cushy with Brookfield and his investments in the United States, as well as his investments in China. His investments in China. How else do you drum it up? How else do you sum it up? Right? It's all bullshit. Didn't George Carlin say back in the 90s, it's one big club and we're not invited? We just keep paying for it. We just keep having to dole out, this is my wallet. I'm going to see if it's going to balance itself. Okay, you ready? Ready? Wait for it. It didn't balance. So, in this Christmas season, we got to pay attention to these ass clowns. Now, they're off for another 6 weeks. And I've had a few individuals on my TikTok page and other pages too weigh in and say that 338 have got to be done. I'm a firm believer in parliamentary reform. I'm a firm believer in electoral reform. And I personally believe let's get rid of the Governor General because we don't need a king anymore as far as I'm concerned. I don't mind keeping certain traditions alive because that's what kind of makes Canada distinct from other Commonwealth countries, as well as our friends to the south. My American friends, we do have certain laws and regulations on the books in regards to His Majesty King Charles, But we also have rules and regulations where it comes to the sovereignty of this nation. And I, for one, am getting sick and tired of hearing about land claims and land back and land acknowledgements. Because when you hear the word unceded, that means sweet fuck all in legal terms, as far as I know. Could be wrong. And I'm welcoming anyone to challenge me on these things. I do. I'm a firm believer in abolishing the Indian Act because it's basically racist. It is racist. Having an opinion towards the act in this country is not racist. And I'm also a firm believer, too, in proper truth and reconciliation, not speculation or hearsay, proper truth and reconciliation. That's what I personally believe in, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm not going to put up any more land claims or land acknowledgements because I've represented Canada overseas and all people therein. And I still stand for Canada and all people therein. Note what I say, Canada and all people therein. That means Canadians. That means people who live here, people who want a good job, people who want to thrive, people who want to get ahead without government overreach. And they're still speculating on the whole issue next year about certain public service jobs that might go away. Too bad. We got too many bureaucrats as it is, right? And now our CDS, Jennifer Kerrigan, she wants to. I'll put a link in the description, but she wants to have 300,000 people, public servants, to spend a week training on rifles and clones and learn how to drive a truck to be reserves on standby. And as far as she's concerned, that we're ready for war too. That's an interesting idea. That's an interesting take on the plight of our military in this country. Considering I spent 20 years, we had problems in the 90s and part of the 2000s up until Afghanistan. During Afghanistan, it wasn't so bad. Things were getting better. But then after our time in the war, after Canada pulled out, then things are being cut again. And you can blame the conservatives for that too. You can also blame the liberals, especially the liberals, for that. The liberals have never been a friend of our military. So that's something to think about probably in my next episode too. I will get more into the meat and potatoes and the gravy of some of these ridiculous statements that these senior officers and senior politicians alike are making about our military and the projections and the ideas. Oh, we're going to fund this. We're going to fund that. What, more programs? Hey, more programs? Or how about get rid of the middleman and get rid of the bureaucracy? Get rid of the people that have to sit and count beans all the time and start giving it to the powers that be. They can spend the real money, get the equipment, get things done, right? But that's just me, though, too. Like I said earlier, ladies and gentlemen, it's Christmas time. So reflect, thank what you have, be appreciative of what you have. I do try to be a little more thankful about things every day. It's getting harder in our lives, in your lives too, I understand. And I've had some wonderful comments. So thank you very much to everybody out there who has given me some positive comments, some thumbs up. And thank you to the people who have challenged me. The thing is that if you're going to engage me in a conversation and a debate, back up your points, back up your facts. Okay? Don't just give me some quote from some modern doctor who can't decide where to pee. Give me a quote from an actual dictionary or an encyclopedia or from somebody who made something happen. You know what I mean? Point, proof, explanation, that kind of thing. Basic essay format, right? Try that on for size. But before dwelling and getting all emotional, keep in mind this is Christmas season. So Merry Christmas out there. Happy Hanukkah to my Jewish listeners and friends. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy festive season. Happy winter solstice to all my pagan friends. Drink, dance, be merry, be thankful. Let's enjoy this winter solstice for all it is and celebrate a new day. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 21st of December, 2025. I wish good tidings to you all the best to you in this Merry Christmas. I will have an episode up this Tuesday for sure. No screwing around. There'll be a new episode up. So look forward to that. And I just wish everyone gets along and stay safe with your family, friends, and your loved ones. And just do what you can to help you out in these trying times. Be faithful, be grateful, be considerate, and be good to yourself too. Okay? And like I always say, ladies and gentlemen, humanity wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you Tuesday. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.
Well, smack my ass and call me Judy.